Flying a drone is easy, right? Well, not if you're doing one of these 10 critical mistakes. These 10 beginner blunders don't just ruin your footage, they put your drone at a serious risk. Stick around because mistake number 3 is something most pilots get wrong, and it's silently sabotaging their shots. Okay, here's the thing. Crashes happen. It doesn't matter how careful you are. One gust wind, one moment of distraction, and bam, your drone hits the ground. For DJI users, DJI Care Refresh is your safety net. With just a small fee, you can get an exchange drone for your damaged one and are not be forced to pay hundreds or even $1,000 to get a new one. But here's the kicker. It's only available if you register your drone within a specific time frame after you purchased it. So if you're still procrastinating, stop. Get it today and save yourself some headache, because no one wants to be that guy with a duct tape drone. You've probably seen those buttery smooth cinematic drone shots online and thought, how are they doing this? Here's the secret: ND filters. Without these, your shutter speed runs wild and create this harsh, jittery footage that screams amateur. ND filters let you control how much light hits the sensor, allowing for proper motion blur, you know, the kind that makes everything look smooth and cinematic, like straight out of a Hollywood movie. Imagine you're filming a car driving down a coastal road. Without an ND filter, the wheels look frozen. Add the filter and suddenly you have this fluid, dynamic motion that really tells a story. This is what separates hobbyists from filmmakers. Let's talk frame rates. Beginners often think higher is better, right? Wrong. Here's why. Higher frame rates, like 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, reduce the bit rate, which means you get less detail in your footage. Plus, most devices, like TVs and smartphones, run on a refresh rate at 60 Hz or 120 Hz. So it divides perfectly smooth by 30 frames per second. And that is also the reason why you should not film at 24 frames per second, unless you're shooting a Hollywood movie that gets played in a cinema. Just remember, good footage comes from balanced settings, not maxed out settings. Picture this, you're flying over a stunning valley, your drone loses signal and you press the return to home button. But instead of coming back to you, the drone is heading somewhere miles away. Why? Because the home point didn't update. Drones usually use GPS to mark their home location. And if you start up the drone, that needs a bit of time. If you rush into the air without waiting until it says home point updated, you're gambling with your drone's safe return to home. So here's the rule. Never take off until you hear the notification. It's a few seconds of patience that could save you hours of searching. And trust me, I really know what I'm talking about. Number 5, auto mode. It's the lazy pilot's dream, but here's the reality. It's a disaster for your footage. Auto settings adjust exposure constantly, especially in changing light, leading to flickering or blown out highlights, and it just doesn't look consistent. Imagine filming the most beautiful sunrise you've ever seen, only to have the camera of your drone overcompensate for every shadow. Worse, auto mode often pushes high ISO, creating grainy, unstable footage. The fix? Manual settings, or at least set an upper ISO limit. Better is to really lock your ISO, lock your shutter speed and white balance, and you'll get consistent, professional looking shots. And trust me, fixing bad auto footage in post is not what you want. Drones these days have impressive sensors, let's be honest, but they are not idiot-proof. Thin branches, invisible. Low light or dusk, they are basically blind. I've seen it happen. Some guy was flying with his drone, trusting the sensors near a tree, and bam, game over. I'm glad this has not happened to me yet. No, seriously, if you're serious about your drone's safety and also the safety of other people nearby, don't rely on this tech. It's more of a last safety instance. Learn to read your environment. And if you're using a drone with LiDAR sensor like the R3S, even better, take advantage of this. But remember, even the best sensors can't replace a cautious pilot. Propellers are the most overlooked part at a drone. They are yet the most critical for flight stability. A tiny crack or even a slight imbalance can turn your smooth flight into a shaky mess or even a crash. So before every takeoff, make sure to invest a few seconds to inspect your drone. Look for chips, dirt or warping, and a broken prop in mid-flight can make the difference between a safe landing and a disaster. Signal loss, a drone pilot's worst nightmare, right? And yet so many ignore the warning. Thick forests, urban jungles, or even flying too far can disrupt your connection immediately. When the signal drops, so does your control. Always check your signal strength before takeoff and don't push beyond your comfort zone. Trust me, retrieving a drone from a roof or worse, a lake is not how you want to spend your weekend. So we're getting towards the last 2 points. Number 9 is flying at noon. Noon flight seems convenient, but they are a cinematographer's worst nightmare. The high sun creates harsh shadows and washed out colors, making your footage look flat and lifeless. Instead, aim for the golden hour, just after sunrise or before sunset. This is when the light looks smooth, warm, and casts long, dramatic shadows. Want to make your shots truly pop? Fly low and let the sun create dynamic contrasts in your scene. Your audience won't just see the difference, they will feel it. Last but not least, don't be like every standard drone pilot out there and do the same maneuvers. Make it look special. Straight lines and static shots? If you want your footage to stand out, you need to get creative. Experiment with parallax, where the foreground moves faster than the background. Combine tilt and pan moves with lateral motion for dynamic, engaging shots. And don't be afraid to get close to your subject. Just remember number 6 while you're at it. Okay? Your goal should be making every frame like it's telling a story. That's it. 10 beginner mistakes to avoid. Which ones have you been guilty of? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're ready to level up your drone skills, hit that subscribe button and join the CineElevate community. Your next flight could be your best one yet. See you in the next one.